Hey everyone, I just saw Haunted Mansion. It's a remake of a movie that came out about 20 years ago. Originally came out with Eddie Murphy. Saw some Eddie Murphy's movies, but I mostly knew him from his stand-up specials, Raw. My dad is a big fan of that one. This one had a really promising cast. Was it any good? It did have Danny DeVito. Hard to picture anything with Danny DeVito and not include the It's Always Sunny cast. That was hard for me to not think about during the whole movie. Haunted Mansion's kind of like a introductory horror movie for like kids, I would say, though it does have some themes that I think are a little heavy. Like they do have a lot of things about like grief and how to deal with it from a kid's angle, also from an adult angle. So I think some of that's a little bit heavy for some kids. It is PG-13, I believe. I don't think anything was too scary. I think they had some really good horror elements. Some moments in this horror movies could definitely take notes that you don't have to jump scare, and could have very atmospheric horror. You could have a lot of environmental things, and some scenes were really good, but the first half of this movie is much stronger. The second half felt like a bunch of action set pieces that were kind of sprinkled in there, and some of the scenes were cool and interesting. Some were over CG. This movie is probably 20 minutes too long. The original is about half hour shorter, I believe, so they could have gotten through this quicker. The strength, though, is definitely the cast. Rosario Dawson, she's great and aged in 20 years. You got Danny DeVito, who just kind of plays himself. I just saw him as Frank Reynolds this whole time. Like maybe it's the Frank Day, or he got a concussion and thought he was like a professor and now he's here, or the rest of the It's Always Sunny crews like scheming in the back. I kept thinking of the It's Always Sunny guys, how they would handle this. Like, Dennis like tries seducing one of the female ghosts. Mac would try to make a deal with the ghost and like act like he's on the side of his friend. I was also thinking when there's this part where they're at a book and they're looking at this like powerful book. It's just like, oh, that's just kind of like, the Evil Dead book. Imagine if Danny DeVito and It's Always Sunny crew opened up the Book of the Dead. How great of an episode would that be? I digress. Owen Wilson was in this. I don't think I've seen Owen Wilson in a movie in a while, so it was good to see him. He was really funny as the priest character. He definitely stood out in scenes he was in. I'm just thinking of the guy from Wedding Crashers, though. I kept picturing him in other things they did, and it's just kind of funny. Same thing with Rosario Dawson. I'm just looking at the nurse from Daredevil, or her character from Clerks. I think this movie is a good like maybe entry horror movie for a kid. I think if I was like 8 or 9, I'd probably appreciate it more. And maybe I take that and want, that'll begin like an interest in horror. For me, it was Monster Vision, TNT Monster Vision. I mean, I was a big Godzilla fan, and watching Joe Bob doing cut up horror movies on TV when I was probably too young. It's great. Speaking of that, I've been catching up on The Last Drive-In, so that's always good on Shudder. Overall, I think for an adult, this movie kind of drags on a little too long. I think it's better for kids, and even they would probably get bored towards the end. I had a few beers for the movie, so I think that kind of helped. Probably required to get through it. Probably not one I'd watch again. I'd say stream it. Good to put on if you need like an atmospheric Halloween movie, but there are better choices out there. Comment down below with your favorite, I guess, kid-friendly Halloween movie. A few of them. I know there's a bunch of popular ones like Hocus Pocus and Nightmare Before Christmas. Let me know down below. I'd love to see what you guys say, and I'll see you in the next one.